Did you know that body smell holds 73% of Americans back socially? That's more than 7 out of 10 people who cannot do anything and cannot be themselves simply because they happen to stink. Besides, over 90% of Americans say that smelling badly has stopped them from hugging someone. Don't let this happen to you. In today's show, I'm revealing how to always smell awesome naturally. Here is the definitive guide to preventing bad breath, stinky feet, sweaty armpit, and overall strong body odor for good. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Welcome back to Sweetie Kiwi. How are you doing today? I am doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous. Are you doing marvelous? Today we have a great show, and I want to quickly get into this important topic. Now, Sweetie Kiwi is the world's largest infotainment show. We are very good at information, but also entertainment. But today we're really talking about information, and this is a very important topic. Before we start, I want to give a shout out to our millions of viewers and fans all over the world in the United States, Canada, but also overseas. Now, I want to quickly give a shout out to Jake Fletcher in Lincoln, UK, Rowan Baker in Lincoln, UK, and Tegan Barry in Lincoln, UK. All right, let's quickly jump into it. Now, first, I want to talk about the origins of bad breath. Now, bad breath typically originates in the mouth, right? And this is where bacteria are ever present. Now, when you eat, bits of food get caught into your teeth. So bacteria grow on these bits of food, releasing foul-smelling sulfur compounds. I'm really trying to explain the origin so you understand where the bad breath comes from. The most common cause of bad breath is poor dental hygiene, right? So it's pretty understandable that if you don't brush your teeth, if you don't floss often, the bacteria in your mouth, they will continue to grow, right? And they will accumulate. And what will happen is that a thin film of bacteria known as plaque builds up on your teeth. So when plaque isn't brushed away at least twice a day or 3 times a day, depending on your diets and the kind of food you eat, it produces a foul smell. And this leads to another smelly process, which we call tooth decay, right? Now, no panic, don't panic here. All foods get stuck in your teeth anyway. There's nothing you can do about it, right? But it is proven, and science can back it up, that certain foods like onions and garlic more commonly lead to bad breath, right? Now, I'm not saying you have to. I'll give you a lot of tips and tricks in this show to really fight that. Even if you are an onion and garlic lover, you can certainly fight that. So the thing that happens is this: the digestion of these foods releases sulfur compounds into your bloodstream, and then when the blood reaches your lungs, it affects your breath. So this is not the fact that you're eating onions and garlic that the breath is coming from your mouth. No, of course the breath comes from your mouth, but it goes first into your bloodstream. So first, the digestions of the food releases sulfur compounds into your bloodstream, and then the blood in turn reaches your lungs and then affects your breath. So more than 80 to 85% of bad breath cases originates in the mouth, right? You have it in the mouth. Occasionally, however, the source of the problem comes from elsewhere in the body, right? So it can be something like, acid reflux, which leads to the partial regurgitation of foul tasting liquids, right? It could also be things like infection, diabetes complication, and renal failure. So the picture I'm trying to paint here is that we are talking about several types of smell, right? Bad breath, stinky feet, sweaty armpits, and overall strong body odor. So I'm starting here with bad breath, and I want to give you the origins of bad breath so you know, because to fight something, you need to have a causal relationship. You need to establish a causal relationship. So to really sort of recap very quickly here, if you have bad breath, it comes from 3 things, all right? The food you eat, if you have some kind of diabetes complications and renal failure, and the food you eat, it doesn't, the food you eat doesn't make your mouth smell automatically. There is some kind of metabolic processes that go into it to create that foul smell. So it's because the metabolic process called digestions of this food that releases sulfur compounds into your bloodstream, and then when that blood reaches your lung, that's when it affects your health. That's what, not the health. That's when it affects your breath. All right, we'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks. Now, I explained to you what causes bad breath. Now, let's talk really quickly about how to prevent bad breath. And this is very important. Now, there are several ways to prevent bad breath, and I'm going to give you a few in this show. Now, the first thing is you can use parsley. Parsley is a popular folk remedy for bad breath. Now, this is what I call grandmother remedy, and it works. It works perfectly. The thing is that parsley's fresh scent and high chlorophyll content suggests that it can have a deodorizing effect, right? Because they're having a lot of studies that prove that high chlorophyll in a compound can affect bad breath in a positive way. In other words, it can break it down. It can negate its effect, right? And the thing is that you can actually eat parsley, and parsley can effectively combat the foul sulfur compounds. Remember that the foul sulfur compounds are they are the guilty party here. They are the one, when they break down into your bloodstream, that causes this sort of bad smell, right? To use parsley for bad breath, what you want to do is you can either chew on fresh leaves after each meal, right? Usually it's after 30 minutes. After 30 minutes after your last meal, or if you or your lunch or your dinner, you want to chew on fresh leaves. One thing you can do also is you can buy a parsley dietary supplement if you have time for that, but I really don't think you want to spend money on that, because the dietary supplement might have some kind of other added compound, but we want to keep things simple here. So you want to chew on the fresh leaves, or even better, you can even use it as an infusion in water. So you drink it as some kind of infusion, tea, whatever. So this will combat the bad breath. It will suppress it. It will annihilate it, and your mouth will be smelling fresh. Now, another beautiful ingredient, another beautiful component you can use is pineapple juice, right? Many people, and this happens, you see this a lot in tropical areas such as Latin America and Africa and Asia. Many people in those cultures believe that pineapple juice can be very effective in combating bad breath. Now, we haven't seen so far any scientific evidence to back up this theory, but chances are, if hundreds of millions of people are using it and have been using this for the last 100 years, 200 years, chances are there is a bit of truth to that. So how do you get it done? The best way to combat bad breath here is to drink a glass of pineapple juice after every meal. Again, the time you have to wait is 30 minutes. You want after the meal is digested, you want to wait a little bit before. So 30 minutes after your last meal, or after each meal, you want to drink pineapple juice. We haven't seen any evidence that you need to be the juice has to be organic. It has to come from organic pineapple. It can be normal pineapple, right? So this is, doesn't really matter. You drink that juice after every meal, and you will be smelling. Your mouth will be smelling very fresh. You can also chew on the pineapple slice for 1 to 5 minutes, right? So basically, you can either chew on a slice of pineapple or drink the juice. Now, one thing that is very important here, folks, and don't forget, it's very important to rinse your mouth so that you can kick off the sugars in the fruit and the fruit juice afterwards, because the last thing you want is to start causing another deleterious effect on your teeth, right? Nobody wants that. So rinse your mouth clearly and abundantly. The third way you can prevent bad breath is to basically drink water. As simple as that. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Very easy. Now, the thing is that research has shown that mouth dryness often causes bad breath. The thing is that saliva plays a very prominent role in keeping your mouth clean, right? So without saliva, bacteria are like, oh, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Bacteria thrive. Without saliva, bacteria will thrive. Now, your mouth naturally dries out while you sleep, right? Which is why in the morning everybody has foul breath, right? This is why your breath is typically worse in the morning or after sleeping, right? So if you want to prevent dry mouth, one thing you have to do is to keep your body hydrated. This is very important. So drinking water, I'm not talking about sodas, a coffee or whatever. No, just water, pure water. Drinking water throughout the day will help encourage saliva production. So again, here I'm going to revert to what physicians advise, which is at least 8 glasses of water per day. Now let's move on to the fourth way to prevent bad breath. You can use yogurt. Now yogurt is perfect because yogurt contains gazillions of healthy bacteria, and those are called lactobacillus. Now these myriad healthy bacteria can do a lot of stuff because they can help combat bad bacteria in various parts of the body, like your gut, for instance, right? The good thing is that scientists have shown that yogurt may also help reduce bad breath because there are something called probiotics in yogurt, and they are very effective in reducing the severity of bad breath. Now, the thing is that, eat yogurt at least one serving per day. And again, it can be plain non-fat yogurt. Usually physicians will advise people to have yogurt maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes after eating, so that they will sort of counter the probiotics will counter the effect of the sulfur compounds. Another way to prevent bad breath is milk. Milk is fantastic. Milk is good. Milk is a well-known cure for bad breath, and this has been known for many centuries. So if you drink milk, research has shown very potently, very powerfully, that drinking milk after eating garlic or onion can significantly improve, what has been known as garlicky breath, right? And everybody knows what garlicky breath is. At least I know. And yes, it sure stinks. So what you want to do is you want to drink a glass of low or full fat milk, right? You can do so during the meal or 30 to 45 minutes after the meal, and just make sure that whenever you only drink that when you have strong smelling foods like garlic and onions. All right. Now the next item, which is very powerful also, is fennel or anise seeds. Fennel seeds. Now fennel and anise seed have been used to freshen breath, right? Especially in India. So in parts of India, in Pakistan, in that region, in Sri Lanka, fennel seeds have been used to freshen breath. So what you want to do is you can even roast them. So roasted fennel seeds, they are still used today as mouth freshener, right? So those cultures use fennel and anise seeds after dinner just to cleanse the breath, right? And the good thing is the taste sweet, and on top of that, they contain aromatic essential oils that give the breath a fresh scent. So this is something that I will strongly recommend, and this will really help you maintain a fresh scent. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks, to another section of this fantastic, show about how to always smell awesome naturally. This is very important. One thing I want to continue on the list of fruits and substances you can use to combat or prevent bad breath. We want to stop after this show. I want you to go and start smelling fantastic. Smell fantastically from every part of your body. All right. The next item we want to use here is orange. Before we even talk about orange, I want to give a quick shout out to our fantastic and lovely fans, listeners, and viewers all over the world. We have today Julian Molina in Toronto. This is, of course, Ontario in Canada. Ashton Howell in Ottawa, Canada. And Luna O'Donnell in Hamilton, Ottawa. Again, we're coming from the wonderful province of Ontario. Now, oranges are very good for dessert, right? They are also good. They also happen to be fantastic for dental hygiene, right? The thing is that a lot of people have bad breath and they don't even know it because they have bad breath because they don't produce enough saliva to wash away the foul smelling bacteria. So one thing here is that, research has shown that vitamin C, which is the main ingredient in oranges, can help increase saliva production, which can in turn help eliminate the bad breath, right? So oranges are just perfect for that. Another thing you want to think about is zinc. Zinc salts are powerful. Zinc salts are in ingredients that in certain mouthwashes, right? And the good thing is that you can, they counteract bad breath. Zinc works really primarily, what it does is it primarily helps decrease the number of sulfurous compounds in your breath. So, remember those foul sulfurous compounds I was talking about earlier? They will be destroyed. They will be smashed away by zinc. So if you regularly rinse with a solution containing zinc, this could be very effective in reducing bad breath for at least 9 months. You can also try a zinc chewing gum, right? And this is designed for people who regularly have dry mouth. So, so zinc can be used as a mouthwash. You can take it as a chewing gum. You can also have it as a dietary supplement. Whatever it is, zinc is great. Zinc is the way to go. Go with zinc. I love that slogan. Go with zinc. Go with zinc. Next, we have green tea. Green tea is an effective grandma recipe to combat bad breath, right? So you want to use green tea. So if zinc is not for you, or you don't like milk, or you don't like yogurt or water, who doesn't like water? You should be loving water. But the thing here is that you can use green tea to combat bad breath, right? Because green tea is a great disinfectant, and it also helps deodorize, your mouth. And what it does is it ultimately helps freshen the breath. So use green tea, especially you can use mint. You can mix the green tea with mint, right? Because mint has also analogous effects. So if you have a cup of green mint tea, for instance, this could be a very perfect breath freshener, right? So the thing here is that, again, you can drink it 30 minutes after a meal, right? You can brew 2 cups of tea before going to bed, and you can refrigerate it overnight, and then in the morning you pour your cool tea into water bottle and you bring it to work, right? The thing is that when you bring it just make sure the bottle is colored so nobody knows what kind of stuff you are drinking. People would start asking you, what is that? Well, like those sort of nosy co-workers who always want to understand what you're up in your business. The thing is, just color it so that people don't see the color and ask you questions, right? But yeah, you can drink green mint tea at night or during the day, and your breath will be really fresh. Another thing that will really help you is apples. Now, apples are fantastic, and apples have a potent effect against garlicky breath. the thing is that there are some natural compounds in apples that neutralize the foul smelling compounds in garlic and also onions here. And this is very important, because especially people who have a very strong garlicky breath, the kind of breath that lingers over several hours, even 1 or 2 days, please use apples, because apples, again, the natural compounds found in apples neutralize the compounds in the bloodstream. Now, remember, they don't deodorize the mouth, right? But they neutralize the compounds in the bloodstream, because remember, the bloodstream, when the blood goes to the lung, that's when you start having the breath. So by neutralizing the compounds in the bloodstream, they are in effect making sure that no foul smelling compounds goes back to your lung, right? So that's also very, very good. Another thing you can use is baking soda. You can have a homemade mouthwash with baking soda. This is perfect also. Again, we're giving you some kind of, we're mixing natural ingredients with grandma recipe. So baking soda is a perfect solution, and baking soda is also known as sodium bicarbonate, right? It can effectively kill bacteria in the mouth. So by killing bacteria in the mouth, you are getting rid of high concentrations of bacteria, and this allows your mouth to always smell fresh. The last thing I want you to remember here is having a mouthwash with vinegar. Vinegar is also a strong element here, because vinegar contains a natural acid called acetic acid. And the thing is that, remember one thing, bacteria don't like to grow in acidic environments. They never like that. So if you have a vinegar mouthwash, this can reduce the bacteria growth. All right. So this is it, folks. I'm giving you, so just to kind of quickly recap here, how to prevent bad breath: parsley, pineapple juice, water, yogurt, milk, fennel seeds, orange, zinc, green tea, apples, homemade mouthwash with baking soda, homemade mouthwash with vinegar. All right? I will be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks, to another section of Sweetie Kiwi. I'm just very happy to have you, and I feel marvelous. For some reason, I just feel like the whole studio is smelling so fresh. Everybody has a wonderful breath here. I'm not sure about my own breath, but listen, if you like this kind of content, if you think the quality of our show is fantastic, please consider subscribing to our channel and hit the bell notification so that you can be notified anytime we release new content. Like this content, share with people, because everybody needs to have advice around smelling good, how to smell perfectly. Share this content, and make sure that you drop in the comment section your insights, your tips, tricks, and tactics on how to have great smell. We always appreciate content of this nature. And also, please remember that this show is ad supported, so please watch the ads that are inserted into the show, so the production team can have the resources to expand the team, to hire more people, to conduct more investigation, more report, and continue to always bring you free, high quality content. Now let's talk now about Stinky Fit. In the first section, we talked about bad breath. Now we are talking about Stinky Fit, also called bromidiosis. Now, bromidiosis or smelly fit, this is a very common medical condition, right? I just want to let you know that it's not a biggie. It's a common condition. Now, you have smelly fit when there is a buildup of sweat, which results bacteria to grow, which result in bacteria growth on the skin, right? So it's the buildup of the sweat. So these bacteria cause bad smell. What happened here is that fungal infections like athlete foods can also lead to bromidiosis. Now the good news is that bromidiosis, it's very easy and very cheap to treat. It's very easy, quick, and cheap to treat, right? Now, what causes smelly feet? Let me just kind of break it down further. Now, your feet produce a lot of sweat, right? Everybody has that. What happens is that those feet have more sweat glands than any part of the body. And the thing is that these glands release sweats all throughout the day to help cool your body and keep your skin moist, right? So everybody, the 7 billion individuals on this earth, 7 or 8 billion individuals on this earth have feet that sweat all the time. Now, it is true that teenagers, pregnant women, athletes, they are most prone to very sweaty feet because their bodies produce hormones that make them sweat more, right? You also sweat more if you are on your feet all day at work, right? Or you are under a lot of stress, or you have, say, a medical condition like diabetes that makes you sweat more than others, then you will tend to have sweatier feet, right? The thing that happens is that there are natural bacteria on the feet. Those bacteria, they're just sitting there, they're just relaxing there. Now, the bacteria help break down sweat on the feet as it's released. So if bacteria and sweat build up, that's when you have a foul odor. All right. So when you have the buildup of the bacteria and sweat, so extra bacteria tend to form when a person sweats in their shoes, takes them off, and then puts them back on without allowing them to fully dry. Okay, so it's the buildup, folks. It's the buildup of bacteria and the sweat that causes the bad smell. Now, poor hygiene can also play a role in causing bromidiosis, right? So if you don't wash your foot frequently, or you don't change your socks once a day or once every 18 hours, this can cause extra bacteria to begin to grow on your feet. Remember, it's not the bacteria that are there, it's the buildup, right? That really causes that. Now, globally, research has shown that about a quarter of people, so 25% of people, that's about give or take 2 billion individuals in the world that have, a very, very bad smelly foot. So they have very, very bad smelly feet. Why? Because their feet are extra sweaty, and because they are extra sweaty, they become home to certain types of bacteria, right? So those bacteria produce more than just stinky organic acid. They also produce volatile sulfur compounds, right? Remember we talked about sulfur compounds when we discussed the mouth. It's the same thing here. So those sulfur compounds usually are powerful and awful smelling. They produce some kind of awful smell. So if you ever, have you ever smelled a rotten egg? Then you know what I'm talking about. Then you can imagine the kind of smell I'm talking about here. So the kind of smell that those sulfur compounds produce is analogous to the smell you have when you have those you have a rotten egg. So one thing you have to remember also is that some medications, not all, but some medications, can also cause perspiration as a side effect, right? So if you have antidepressants, aspirin, insulin, right? You also have things like alcohol, smoking, coffee drinking. Those sort of increase the sweat production because they boost heart rates and core temperatures, right? Another thing that causes sweat is spicy food, right? Because spicy foods have a chemical called capsaicin, and capsaicin is a chemical found in peppers, and those can also create short bouts of sweating. But the thing is that when it comes to spicy food, the sweat there only lasts a few minutes. It's not really hard. It's not really a bad thing, and you can squash that. You can really stop that by drinking cold milk, right? Because remember, we talked about it before. The proteins in milk have a detergent effect that can wash away, the burning of the mouth that sets off sweating, right? Another condition that can cause sweat is overweight. If you are overweight, if you are obese people seem to sweat more, right? So it is just a combo of stuff that makes people sweat, right? Now, one thing to really remember here is that sweat glands are all over the body, but they are more concentrated in certain areas. So you have the armpits. We will be talking about very soon about the armpit. So also in the soles of the feet and in the palms of the hands. So those are the three areas where you have a higher concentration of sweat glands. All right. We will be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks, to this beautiful show. We are having fun here. We are learning a lot, and I hope you are also learning a lot here from a lot of info about how to always smell awesome naturally. Now, if you just joining us right now, I just want to let you know that sweating and having a foul smell is not something that is limited. It's not something that is constrained to a small portion of the population. It is something more general. Did you know that body smells hold 73% of Americans back socially? That's more than 7 out of 10 people who cannot do anything and cannot be themselves simply because they happen to stink. Think about that. Besides, over 90% of Americans say that smelling badly has stopped them from hugging someone. Wow, this is deep. Don't let this happen to you. In today's show, I'm showing you how to always smell awesome naturally. I'm showing you the ultimate easy peasy tutorial to prevent bad breath, stinky feet, sweaty armpits, and overall strong body odor for good. So don't go anywhere. Listen to us till the end, because I'm gonna drop more tips, more beautiful bombs all over the way. Okay, along the way. Now let's talk now about how to treat smelly feet naturally. Now I gave you what is smelly feet. The condition, the proper word for this is called bromodosis. Before I talk about how to treat smelly feet naturally, let me give a shout out to Warren Morales in Bigman, Louisiana, Rory Farley in Odessa, Louisiana, and Sylvia Wolf in Rose Point in the beautiful state of Louisiana. Now, how to treat smelly feet naturally. The first thing is, and this is common sense, right? You want to keep your feet clean and neat. This is it. It's all about hygiene, right? You want to use a mild soap, and sometimes you can even, if possible, use a scrub brush. And what you want to do is you want to wash your feet at least once a day. This is very important. You can do this during your morning or evening shower. It doesn't really matter, but you have to do at least once a day. Now, one thing that's important is that after you are done washing your feet, dry them completely, and pay special attention. And this is key. This is a biggie, folks. Pay attention between your toes, where any wetness can easily cause bacteria to grow, because remember, bacteria like to just grow where there is wetness, right? When it comes to your toenails, clip them often so they are always short, and make sure they are clean all the time. Remove the dead skin, the hard skin from your feet with a foot file, right? Because what happens is that hard skin tends to get soggy and soft when it's wet, and this just creates a conducive ecosystem where bacteria, they just like to live and thrive. Another thing you have to do is try to change your socks at least once a day, or at least once every 18 hours, especially if you live in a hot environment, or if you're a marathon runner, you are exercising, or you are an athlete, or you are in any situation where your feet may become sweaty, like if you work on a construction project, this kind of stuff, you should change your socks more often. And this is key. Now, if you are in those conditions, it is important, if you are in those professional conditions or in this weather conditions, have 2 pairs of shoes that you alternate wearing every other day. That way, you are allowing the other pair to dry out from sweat or moisture for a full day before being worn again, right? You can also remove the insoles in your shoes to help them dry again. This is very important because wet shoes are a breeding ground. They are a playground for bacteria. They just come in there, they just give high fives, they rejoice, they just have a barbecue, and they just are growing on your feet more quickly. And nobody wants that. Right? Nobody wants that. How come I can't really breathe anymore? Is anybody having stinky feet in the studio here? So, where was I? Yeah. So one thing you also want to do here is that you want to basically choose the kind of socks that absorb moisture, right? Because you don't want socks that keep the moisture on your feet, and you can really go, those are cheap. Also, you can get them by the dozens. They are very cheap, and you can have those sort of soft or thick, soft socks that are made out of natural fibers. Alternatively, you can also use sports socks. Those are great also. Now, one thing you also want to do is that you want to go as much as possible. You want to go barefoot as often as possible, especially indoors when appropriate, because you want to allow your feet to stay dry. Remember, the feet must stay dry. This is really the opposite of what we said earlier about the mouth, right? If the mouth is dry, bacteria will grow. But when it comes to the feet, it's totally the inverse. You want the feet to stay dry so no bacteria can grow, because bacteria will grow in a wet environment outside your mouth. All right. Now, another thing you want to use here, and which is very important, is that use a cotton ball to apply a small amount of rubbing alcohol to your feet every night. This is very good. This is, again, a grandma recipe here. You want to basically do that before going to bed so that this will help to dry your feet. Remember that you should always avoid shoes that are tight, right? If the shoes are too tight or may retain moisture, again, this might create an environment that is conducive to bacteria accumulation and growth, right? Now, if needed, if you have a serious condition, you can go to a foot doctor, and they might help you, for instance, by prescribing to you medicated deodorant insoles in your shoes, so that your feet will always smell nice. You can also apply an antifungal foot spray, right, or medicated foot powder on your foot once daily, and this will keep your foot smelling very well. There are gazillions of tips here, and gazillions of tips available out there on how to treat smelly feet naturally, but this were the 10 or 9 give or take that I believe one needs, because the bottom line is you don't need like 1,000 tips, right? You only need 5 or 4 or 2 or 3 that works for you. That work for you. Just apply them and keep your feet smelling fresh naturally. I will be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks, to this wonderful edition. If you love this show, if you just love the content, if you just love my voice, now please consider subscribing to this channel, because we drop quality content like this one every single day, sometimes even twice or 3 times, depending on how we feel, right? If you are inspired, or if we feel lazy, or if we have the resources to do the work, then we'll drop it. And turn on the notification bell so you are the first to be informed, the very first to be informed whatever we drop a new content, right? The algorithm will inform you. Google algorithm, the YouTube algorithm will come and knock on your door and let you know Sweetie Kiwi has dropped a new show. Please consider also liking this show. Share this content because someone somewhere right now needs to hear this, needs to stop that smell either in their mouth, on their feet, in their armpits. We're going to talk about that right now. So whoever it is, please consider sharing this info. And also, please comment below. Give us your tips. If you have other tips we have covered on how to suppress once and for all a strong body odor, please share the knowledge with the audience here. Now let's talk about armpits, another biggie, right? Now, armpits. What causes sweaty armpits? Now, underarm excessive sweating, this is also called axillary hyperhidrosis. This is the complicated, convoluted scientific term here. Now, the thing is that this could be very, very embarrassing, right? And it could be annoying. Sometimes it is uncontrollable, right? And the thing also is, as a lot of 90% of Americans said, this could be a very isolating problem. You can't hug someone, and this sort of holds you back. This kind of things, holds you back socially. It's just crazy, right? It's crazy. It's crazily discomfortable. So the discomfort of the sweat, you see the sweat running down your sides. You see the sweat stains, those embarrassing, sweat stains that everybody sees. And the worst thing is the fear of being discovered, quote unquote discovered, right? Because this is the sort of uncontrollable, armpit sweating that can feel like it's running your life, right? It really is ruining your life. Now, don't worry, don't panic, because there is some good news, right? There are treatments for excessive sweating, excessive armpit sweating. You have natural ways, but you also have some sort of medical treatments here. Now, I'm going to show you here a few items that you can do to bring it down. Now, before we even talk about that, there is something called, excessive sweating, and this is also known as hyperhidrosis. Now, in America, you have an estimated 5 to 10%, give or take, of people in the U.S. deal with hyperhidrosis. Again, this is the excessive sweating I was talking about. Now, according to the American Academy of Dermatology, a lot of those people don't even know that they have this condition, right? So just to break it down, someone who an individual who suffers from hyperhidrosis will normally sweat more than is physically necessary for the body to cool down. And even they don't need a cool down, really, if you think about it, right? So it's not, as of today, science has not been able to determine clearly what causes hyperhidrosis in every case. Now, it could be genetic, right? It could relate to an underlying health issue. We talked earlier about how diabetes and cancer in some situations can cause someone to have a bad breath, right? Now, there are two forms of hyperhidrosis. We have something called primary hyperhidrosis and something called secondary hyperhidrosis. For the primary part, that means that there is no underlying cause to your sweat. So people who have primary hyperhidrosis typically start to notice excessive sweat as a child or a teenager, right? So there is no underlying condition. It's just something that happens around puberty, right? And then you have secondary hyperhidrosis. Now, this is when your sweating is related to some kind of underlying condition, right? So it's not just the thing that your body just does by itself. For instance, if you are taking medication that triggered excessive sweating, or if you have diabetes, or you have an active thyroid, or even if you are going through menopause, those are conditions that could create a secondary hyperhidrosis, right? So one thing that is very important here is that you can actually stop hyperhidrosis naturally by again, we are talking about hygiene, personal hygiene, right? You want to bathe, you want to take a shower at least once or twice a day, or even more if you live in a hot environment, right? Very important. You want to dry your body. You want to use a dry towel, because at least, again, remember, bacteria, as we said before, for the feet, we have a similar approach here. Bacteria will thrive under your armpit if you basically have a wetness under your armpit, right? This is very important. So this is why you need to always dry up. Now let's talk a little bit before we continue talking about the natural ways to stop armpits sweating. Let's talk about what medicine has done recently to kind of help people sometimes have surgery or procedures. You can use an antiperspirant, right? But some people even go as far as having Botox injections. Botox injections are a combination of an antiperspirant and a Botox injection to be able to stop the progression, to stop the condition. Now there are several treatments out there that allow people to see results right away. So there is a treatment called Dry, and what they use is some kind of unique approach to eliminate axillary hyperhidrosis, what is called underarm excessive sweating. And the thing is that the FDA has approved that it's used in the United States. So if you want to go the medical route, you can talk to your doctor about it, and the doctor will let you know if this applies to your situation. Now the thing is that Dry is very, very expensive, which is why a lot of people just resort to Botox. Now Botox also has its pros and cons, right? So the bottom line here is that for us, at least in this show, I want to focus more on the natural ways to stop hyperhidrosis. So I will be right back right after this, and I'll tell you more about the natural ways to prevent hyperhidrosis. All right, don't go anywhere. Stay where you are. Welcome back, folks. We are still trying to understand the issue of sweaty armpits and have to fix it. We want to fix it once and for all, and this is very important. Now, before I jump into this section, please let me give a fan shout out to Donald Long, and he is in Lille, and that's Maine. Ashley Hill, Van Buren, that's in Maine, and Susan Bond in Rockwood, that's in Maine. We love you. Thank you so much for your help. Thank you so much for your contribution in terms of giving us topic to talk about and giving us suggestions and feedback. We appreciate it. We love all our millions of fans throughout the United States, in the state of Maine, and overseas. Now, how to prevent sweaty armpits? Now, you can prevent sweaty armpits by using topical antiperspirants, right? If you're tired of the sweat stains on your shirt, what you want to do is you want to really ditch today your standard deodorant, because it doesn't do it. If you have excessive sweat, you have to use something else. You want to switch to an antiperspirant. The reason being that the deodorant might kill the odor, the smell under your arms, but the deodorant is not designed to stop you from sweating completely, right? So antiperspirants, what they do is they do two things. They both kill they simultaneously kill the smell causing bacteria, and they actively block your sweat glands from producing underarm sweat. This is why they're called antiperspirants. They stop the perspiration. So this could help alleviate your discomfort, right? Because the thing is that especially for people who have excessive hyperhidrosis, this could be bonanza. Now, for some people, nonetheless, over-the-counter antiperspirant don't quite do the trick, right? Because of because of the quality of the products or the patient's own conditions, right? So you want to look for a stronger antiperspirant. If you believe that the regular antiperspirants don't work for you, you want to look for those that contain a higher amount of aluminum chloride. This is the active ingredients, right, in a stronger antiperspirant. And if that doesn't work, then you want to talk to a doctor, right? Because then you want to get to an industrial type of strong antiperspirant. Now the thing here is that only a doctor can give you a prescription for that, because the FDA is very, very adamant and making sure that this sort of very strong antiperspirant does not get into the hands of anybody, because it's just, aluminum chloride is, again, it's not this is a chemical compound, so, and it could be dangerous. So the FBI has devised strong directives and strong requirements and regulations around those types of very strong industrial type of antiperspirant. Now, one thing I want to say here is that, when using an antiperspirant, there are a few things you need to have. There are a few procedures you need to think of, right? Only apply antiperspirants to dry, clean skin. Remember that bacteria love wet areas. That's how they play around. This is the playground. They grow, whatever, right? So don't apply an antiperspirant to an already sweaty armpits or armpits that are still damp from showering, right? You want to use your antiperspirant at night, for instance, right? After you bathe, or when your body is coolest, because this allows the active ingredients to take its full effect. This is very important. You always want to shave under your arms. This is very important. Why? Because hair can have a counterproductive effect on antiperspirant. So the hair can block. So armpits hair can actually block antiperspirant from doing its job, right? So it's very important. Now, make sure that you don't shave immediately before applying it, right? So you want to shave, wait for a few hours. Probably you can shave in the morning, right? Or you can shave at night, go to bed, and in the morning you apply the antiperspirant. Because if you shave right before applying the antiperspirant, what will happen is that it can irritate your freshly shaved skin, right? So, and one thing you have to understand also, be patient here. Be patient when you apply the antiperspirant. Be patient, because sometimes it could take up to 7 days for you to experience the antiperspirant's full effect. Again, everybody is different. Every metabolic process is different. So, your personal case might differ from, another person's, the results that the antiperspirants will have on another person's body, right? One thing you also have to think about is that you want to wait between showering and dressing, right? So after you shower, you want to wait a minimum of 10 minutes, right? Or, give or take 8 to 10 minutes before you get dressed for the day, because this is really important, folks, because if you take hot shower or live in a hot, humid climate and you don't allow your body to become cool and dry before you put on your clothes, this could create an accumulation and growth of bacteria in your underarms. And we know that a wet ecosystem is the ideal playground for bacteria, right? One thing I also said before is that you want to really understand that hair holds moisture, right? Which is why you need to shave. You need to shave your underarms, right? Hair holds moisture, and not just your underarms, other places in your body where bacteria could accumulate and you can have some foul odor. I'm not going to name certain areas here, but the thing is, you can imagine the areas I'm talking about where you have hair, and remember, the hair holds moisture. So if you are already experiencing heavy sweating under your arms, shaving is just critical, right? And if you are constantly fighting your body odor, alongside the sweat, just make sure that you shave. This could also help reduce or eliminate the sweat. All right, I will be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweaty Kiwi. I'm glad to have you here. I love talking about this sort of topic. This is fantastic. If you just joined us here, we are talking about how to always smell awesome naturally. Now, did you know that body smell holds 73% of Americans back socially? That's more than 7 out of 10 people who cannot do anything and cannot be themselves simply because they happen to stink. Besides, over 90% of Americans say that smelling badly has stopped them from hugging someone. Don't let this happen to you. In today's show, I'm showing you how to always smell awesome naturally. Here is the ultimate guide to preventing bad breath, stinky feet, sweaty armpits, and overall strong body odor for good. Don't go anywhere. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. Don't move. Don't move. Because I'm watching you. I'm watching you. I am watching you. All right. Did I scare you? I did. That's good. Fantastic. I love that. I love scaring people. Listen, we are talking about how to prevent sweaty armpits naturally, right? So in the last section, I told you how to use topical antiperspirants. I explained to you how you should wait between showering and dressing, right? I also told you to shave your armpits. Now, let's move forward and say you should avoid sweat-inducing foods. Did you know that your diets can impact how much you sweat? And in addition, some foods have been proven to cause your body to produce more sweat than others. So the thing is that if you realize that you are sweating too much, maybe you can talk to your physician, but also try thinking about reducing or cutting outright some sweat-inducing foods in your diets, because this could help. So remember that foods with a low fiber content force your digestive system to work overtime to break down your food, right? So the thing is that if you have, for instance, a high sodium diet, means your body will be detoxing all that salt in the form of excess urine and sweat. So foods that are also high in fats, they cause your insides to warm as your body has to process the fat. So, the body, anytime the body has to process the fat, has to process high sodium, has to process any kind of food that is low in fiber, the byproduct of this processes is sweat, right? So there are other foods and beverages that could trigger sweaty armpits, right? Those include things like ice cream, right? Hot, spicy dishes, we've said that before. Coffee, foods that have a high fat component, of course, garlic and onions. I mean, garlic produces a lot of stuff when it comes to smell anyway. So you have alcohol and beer and processed foods. This is very, very important. Now, one thing I want to recommend here is that another way to go about it is, you can avoid sweat-inducing foods, right? And simultaneously try to eat more foods that reduce sweat. Because the good news is that some foods can actually reduce the amount of sweat your body triggers, your body produces. And what they also do is, and the beauty is that they also calm overactive sweat glands in the process. So not only they reduce the amount of sweat your body produces, they also calm those teeny weeny overactive sweat glands in the process. So one thing you want to do is you want to focus on the food that will never, put a strong overload on your digestive system. This is the kind of food you want to seek out. This is the kind of food you want to look for, right? You also want to find food that never overstimulate your nervous system. Instead of overstimulating overstimulating your nervous system, you want the food that will calm it, the food that will make it relax, the foods that will make it chill, right? This is the kind of food you want to look out for. Now, here are some of those foods. First one is water, of course, right? You have things like sweet potatoes, green tea, olive oil. That's a good one. You have vegetables and fruits with high water content, right? Things like red cabbage, eggplants, bell pepper, right? Cauliflower, spinach. It's a good one. Broccoli, of course. Cantaloupe, grapes, and watermelon. So those fruits and veggies have high water content, and they never overstimulate your nervous system. You also have wheat, you have bananas, you have almonds, and you have dairy products and cheese and all kinds of foods with a high calcium content. Those are also very good for your body. Okay, I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. So I'm still continuing talking about ways to prevent sweaty armpits naturally here. And I just want to quickly give a shout out to our lovely fans and listeners in the United States and Canada, specifically to Scott James. Scott James lives in St. John's, and that's in the Canadian province of Newfoundland and Labrador. We have Lee Cunningham in Corner Brook, also in Newfoundland and Labrador. And we have Jody Nicholson in Happy Valley. I just love the name of that city, Happy Valley. And Jody is also in Newfoundland, Labrador. So we give a big shout out to all our fans and listeners and viewers in Newfoundland and Labrador, Scott James, Lee Cunningham, and Jody Nicholson. God bless you and your families. And I hope this show is helping you find some solutions if you solve problems in terms of body odor, and to people in your family also. We appreciate the tip. We appreciate the contribution in terms of the topic, the suggestions. Thank you very much. Now, another way to stop or reduce sweaty armpits is to drink water, and drink lots of water, right? So you want to drink water, you want to eat foods with a high water content so that your body is always kept cool, right? So if the body is kept cool, this will prevent excessive underarm sweating. Okay. Another thing you want to think about is you want to wear, what specialists call breathable, loose-fitting clothing, right? You want to wear tight. Don't never wear tight clothes. You can if you want to. You probably will be sweating a lot, but if you're comfortable with that, then everything's fine. But the thing is that if you wear tight clothes, especially the kind of clothes that are snug beneath your arms, this automatically causes armpit stains on your shirt, because you have an environment where your body is not breathing correctly, so you tend to sweat more, and beside the stains, bacteria will also grow, right? So rather than wearing those kind of tight clothes, try wearing fabrics that are breathable and clothes that fit more loosely. I understand, it could be a fad or a fashion where you want to actually, wear tight clothes. You feel comfortable with them, but you feel comfortable, but your armpits don't. All right. So wear something that fit more loosely so that, your underarms feel that they can cool properly. And this whole thing will help prevent you from sweating and staining your clothes, right? Another thing is that skip coffee, right? Because caffeine stimulates the nervous system. That this is something everybody knows, right? This is why you get a boost of energy. You feel more alert after drinking caffeine, right? After drinking coffee, right? But the thing is that with that stimulation of the nervous system, you also have a byproduct of that, which is the increased sweat, right? In addition, coffee also causes your blood pressure to rise. It also raises your heart rate. And one thing you also want to know is that it does something else. It kicks your sweat glands into high gear. So it really, it has this triple effect that is just not good for you. Now, I know I'm going to get myself reprimanded here because a lot of people love coffee, including my own brother and my own sister and my own family. A lot of folks in my family drink coffee. But the thing is, I'm just talking about the facts. I'm talking about the effects of caffeine on the body. So here you have a triple effect of sweat glands being overstimulated, the heart rate that goes up, and the blood pressure that goes up. So if you are a fan of coffee or other hot drinks that contain caffeine, you really are in it for an extra sweaty day, right? Because and you probably noticed that if you are a coffee drinker, that those drinks, hot drinks, automatically increase body temperature, and by default they induce sweating. So just try to reduce them or even eliminate them if you can, right? Another thing you want to think about here, which is very important, is smoking, right? This is common sense. You have to stop smoking because the nicotine that you take in when you smoke acts the same way. It acts in a similar way as caffeine. What it does is it makes your heart beat faster. It causes your sweat glands to work overtime, to work 200%, 300%. It raises your body temperature. And I'm not even talking about, don't even get me started on the other health conditions, the other health detriments that come with smoking. I'm sure you know that already, right? But you also have things like bad breath, skin teeth, and cancer, right? So if you're ready to reduce the excess sweat and improve your overall health and feel good and smell good, maybe you might want to consider quitting smoking altogether. All right? And I'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks. I'm very happy to have you here. Now, we have talked about a lot of stuff, right? We've talked about a lot of stuff so far. And if you just joined the show and you want to know what we are talking about here, we are talking about how to stop strong body odor. Now, did you know that body smell holds 73% of Americans back socially? That's more than 7 out of 10 people who cannot do anything and cannot be themselves simply because they happen to stink. Besides, over 90% of Americans say that smelling badly has stopped them from hugging someone. Don't let this happen to you, please. In today's show, I'm showing you how to always smell awesome naturally. Here is the ultimate guide to preventing bad breath, stinky feet, sweaty armpit, and overall strong body odor for good. Don't go anywhere. Now, we've already talked about bad breath, right? I've explained to you the origins and how to prevent it. And I've also done this the same thing for stinky feet, also called bronchitis, and again taught you how to treat those smelly feet naturally. I went on and did and applied an analogous approach for the sweaty armpits. I explained what they were, and taught you how to prevent sweaty armpits. Now let's talk about overall strong body odor, right? Because this is very important also. Now, body smell is the perceived unpleasant smell, right? That our body metabolically can permeate when bacteria that live on the skin break down sweat into acids. Now, you have to understand that we have gazillions of bacteria that live on our skin. So it's not really the smell of the bacteria growing on the body, right? Because those bacteria, they always live there. Even if you are surrounding yourself with a cloud of perfume, the bacteria are still there. They are still living on your skin, because you always have good bacteria and bad bacteria, right? Now, what happens is that the breakdown, when bacteria break down protein into certain acids, that's when you have the smell. So body odor, when the body gives up a scent, that others find unpleasant, it's known as body smell, right? Now, it becomes obvious if you don't take measures when someone reaches like 15 years of age or 18 years of age. It's usually even earlier for some people, like around 12 or 13. That's when things become like strong. The smell becomes strong. Now, in some cases, people who are obese or those who eat like regularly spicy foods, or some individuals who are engaged in athletics, in sports activities, they're athletes, and if they don't manage the post training phase with strict hygiene, this could create strong body smell, right? In some cases, people with certain medical conditions, for instance diabetes, those are more susceptible to having body odor, right? Now, if you sweat too much, you probably suffer from something called hyperhidrosis. You also want to check your physician for this. Now, the salt level, remember I talked earlier about the sodium level, right? So the salt level of your sweat might be too high for the bacteria to break down. So it really depends on where the excess sweat is occurring. Like we talked about, armpits, we talked about feet. There are other areas where you can sweat. There are other areas on your body when humans can sweat. So sweat itself, the liquid itself is virtually has no smell to humans. The smell comes when you have a rapid accumulation and growth of bacteria in the presence of sweat, and they're breaking down into acids. Let me repeat that. So when you have just sweat by itself, you virtually have no odor, no smell. It's the rapid multiplication, growth, accumulation of bacteria in the presence of sweat, and they're breaking down. In other words, the breaking down of those bacteria of sweat into acids that eventually causes the unpleasant smell. So when sweat breaks down the bacteria into acids, those are the sulfur acids that causes the unpleasant smell. Now, body smell can occur in several places, in several sections of the human body, right? So you have behind the ears, around the anal area, belly button. You have feet, the groin, the armpits, the genitals, in your pubic hair and other hair, and the rest of the skin, right, to a lesser extent. So this is the areas that you really want to pay attention to, because these are the areas where you might have some kind of a smell problem. Now, let me ask the audience here. Now, can you give us your insight about smell and how you are able to manage smell, how you are able to prevent overall strong body odor, no matter where it originates from, the mouth, the feet, the armpits? Do you have any recipe, any grandmother recipe, any natural recipe? Because this is really the goal of this show, to provide natural recipes, natural tips and tricks and tactics. Can you please share with the Sweaty Kiwi community whatever tips you have to manage and handle once and for all, and really prevent overall strong body odor? We really appreciate that. And while you're at it, please consider subscribing to our channel. If you love this type of content, you want us to produce more, please let us know and hit the notification bell so you are kept in the loop for new content. Please share this content. Somewhere someone right now might need this kind of info to prevent overall strong body odor, to prevent sweaty armpit, to prevent stinky feet, to prevent bad breath. Please share the wealth, share the intellectual wealth, and also please don't forget to watch our ads that are served throughout the videos. Allow us to have the resources to expand our production team, to travel and conduct interviews, to produce more free, high quality content, to be able to also have, more shows and hire more people into our production team. So we'll really appreciate if you can watch the ads. They are inserted into this show. And on this, we'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks, to another part of this show. We're still talking about overall strong body odor here. And before I go into more details, please allow me to give a wonderful shout out to Matthew Kelly. He is in Mazovoy, and that's in Alaska. We also have Marley Hunter. She is in Portage Creek, and that is Alaska. And Tilly Howard, and she is in Annette, Alaska. We really love you. We love it when our millions of viewers throughout the world and in the United States and Canada and throughout the world are giving us much love. We want to give it back to them. Thank you so much, Marley, Tilly, and Matthew in Alaska. We bless you and your respective families. Thank you very much. Now, we want to continue the conversation here about body odor, right? So if you want to really reduce that, you want to reduce body odor, one thing you want to do is you want to basically keep yourself clean, right? Try to shower at least once a day. Again, this is just common sense, right? And because you want to wash away the sweat, right? Because if you wash away the sweat and you get rid of some of the bacteria on your skin, this will reduce the bacteria population, which in turn will reduce the possibility of sweat and smell, right? As we said earlier, when the bacteria that live on your skin mix with sweat, they multiply quickly and raise quite a stink, right? This is basically why you're sweating, because sweat by itself is basically smellless, odorless, right? So wash thoroughly, especially the areas where you tend to sweat, right? We mentioned the feet, the groin, the armpit, the genitals, the anal area. All these places must be washed thoroughly. Now, you can also use antibacterial soap. This is something that is very recommended by a lot of dermatologists, because if you wash thoroughly with the antibacterial soap, this will help get rid of some of the bacteria, right? And this will basically help with the smell, right? So always you are trying to buy soap, look for the word antibacterial, right? Because again, antibacterial means it's really antibacteria. That's what this is just common sense, right? One thing you also want to think about after taking a shower is you want to really, really, really dry yourself completely. And pay attention to those areas where, you sweat a lot. So, because if your skin is dry, it's harder for bacteria that cause body odor to breed on it, right? Because remember, the mouth is the only place where, if it's dry, it's bad. When it's outside, outside the body, on your body, being dry is good. So you want to dry yourself off very strongly. Also use industrial strength antiperspirants, right? Like I said before, once you're clean and dry, you can use a strong antiperspirant on your underarms, right? Because they have this component, this chemical, called aluminum chloride. This chemical just fights off the population, the army of bacteria, right? So, and the good thing is that some of the antiperspirants, they even have a deodorant in them. So they not only fight off the bacteria, they also make your armpit smell good, right? So you can use them like twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening, or once during the day. It depends on the kind of job you do, and it depends on your activity during the day, right? Now, sometimes you might need a prescription to get super powerful antiperspirants, right? You want to talk to your doctor, talk to your physician to find out whatever works for you. Another thing that is you have to, and again, this harks back to personal hygiene. This sort of advice are more like common sense, right? You want to keep your clothes clean, right? You want to change your skin. You can't change your skin. Woohoo! Change your skin. Now, you want to change your clothes often when you're sweating heavily, because fresh clothes will help keep your body odor down, because it will help also cool down your skin. So make sure that you change your socks as well, because we talked before about smelly feet, right? So, and use deodorant powders in your shoes. You want to replace your insoles often, and whenever possible, if you live in a hot area, go barefoot. Allow your skin to breathe. Allow your feet to breathe. All right? One thing also I want to mention here is that you want to cut out or cut back on certain foods and drinks, right? The advice we gave for the prevention of sweaty armpits also applies for the overall body, right? So the kind of foods that elevates the body temperature, foods like hot peppers or other spicy food, they might lead to body smell, right? And the thing is, you have some kind of aroma in foods like onions and garlic. Again, they can be carried in your sweat, right? It has been proven, it has been demonstrated scientifically that people who eat onions and garlic sometimes have this kind of aroma in their sweat. Not just when it comes to bad breath, they also have it in their sweat, right? And the same applies for things like drinks with caffeine, right? You have coffee and other drinks with caffeine, or alcohol. They also may make people sweat more. So the overall picture here is that you have to identify what works for you and make sure that you focus on personal hygiene, which is important. You want to focus also on food, on the diets, making sure that you don't eat the foods or drinks that cause your body temperatures to rise. And lastly, you want to use antiperspirants to sort of keep your body cool and your body smelling fresh. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks, to another section and the final section of this conversation we've been having today, and just gonna recap what we've talked about here. So in this show, if you just join us, and I will strongly recommend that you go back to the beginning of the show to learn more about everything. But I just want to ask you a question. Did you know that body smell holds 73% of Americans back socially? That's more than 7 out of 10 people who cannot do anything and can't be themselves simply because they happen to stink. Besides, over 90% of Americans say that smelling badly has stopped them from hugging someone. Can you believe that? 90%. Don't let this happen to you. In today's show, I have showed you how to always smell awesome naturally, right? I've given you the ultimate easy peasy guide to preventing bad breath, stinky feet, sweaty armpits, and overall strong body odor for good. So please apply them today. Now I'm going to quickly recap what we've talked about today, right? So I've given you the origins of bad breath, and I've showed you how to prevent bad breath. I've explained to you what is bromidiosis, in other words, aka stinky feet, right? And I've given you the recipe to treat smelly feet naturally. And then I've talked about sweaty armpits, and I've also given you the recipe, the secrets to preventing sweaty armpits. And finally, I've talked to you about overall strong body odor. And again, I've given you the recipe to preventing strong body odor. Now, I have a call to action for you, because this is the habit of this show. We're always trying to give our audience and listeners and viewers some kind of call to action. And here is today's call to action. Apply an antiperspirant at bedtime. Keep your underarms always dry. Try a solution of hydrogen peroxide and water to fight body odor. Let me repeat that. Try a solution of hydrogen peroxide and water to fight body odor. Now, if sweat from working out is your number one cause of body odor, wash your workout clothes often. So if you are more into sports, you want to have a strong, hygiene. So you want to wash your workout clothes often. And why not? Change your diet. or modify your diet. You can do it like, temporarily. You don't have to change things overnight. But yeah, so this is it. This is really the easy peasy, squeezy, lemon squeezy, whatever it is that you need to follow to basically, avoid body odor and smell good. Always smell awesome naturally. Now, if you have other hints, other insights, other clues, other tips, other tactics, other tricks that you want to share with the Sweaty Kiwi community, please comment below. Tell us, if you have some other ways that we haven't covered in the show. Please share with the community. We always read all the comments. We are interested, in what our audience posts. And if you find a very good answer, we will pin this comment so that the rest of the community can read it. For us, it's very important to always cultivate a quality environment, a very constructive environment. So please, if you know any other way to stop body odor, if you have a product, again, we are trying to focus on natural ways. We're not trying to sell or endorse any products here. Our job is to go the natural way. Now, if somebody has a condition that leads to excessive sweating, they might seek a physician for treatment. But we want to first go with the body self-cleansing ability, right? So if you know of a natural way to stop body odor, we are listening. Please comment below, let us know, and we'll pin your comment so that it will be on top of the other comments and the rest of the community can read it. All right. So this was it, folks, for today's show. I will see you next time. And we have to talk about, I still have to give you a pro tip here. Here is today's pro tip. Well, before that, I'll be right back right after this. All right. So today's pro tip, I've talked about it before in the show, but I want to reiterate here. It's very important. Use industrial strength antiperspirants. So if washing thoroughly with an antibacterial soap bar can get rid of some of the bacteria, you want to use an antiperspirant to actually, basically keep the smell at bay, keep the bad smell at bay. Now, antibacterial soap, once you are clean and dry, allows you to basically kill the chemicals that forms, the bad smell in the first place. So, two keywords: antibacterial soap and industrial strength antiperspirants. All right. Thank you for listening. Have a great time and be marvelous.